Welcome. Thank you very much for attending the hopefully first and hopefully last 2021 virtual tournament training. Hopefully, our 22 training is all in person and we never have to do this again. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Jason Wheeler. I'm the association director here in Maine. I would like to welcome all of our Mainers, all of our Kentuckians, our Floridians. I think we got a few other states mixed in here. I know we have some New York, we have some Massachusetts at minimum. So I really appreciate everyone doing this. I think it's the participation we're getting, not just from judges, but from teams really speaks a lot to the Odyssey community and the Odyssey family. So I am eternally grateful for all of you being here today. I'll let Kurt introduce himself. Kurt has very graciously taken over the job I used to do. And I appreciate that as well. So Kurt, introduce yourself real quick and then we'll get to the info.
Yeah. Hey, I'm anybody doesn't know me, I'm Kurt Freitag. I was voluntold many years ago to be a judge with Odyssey of the Mind. It seemed to have worked out pretty well. I've done multiple problems, but mostly problem 2. I've done world finals for about 5 years with a break, of course, for virtual. That's pretty much it. I took over for Jason, much to my surprise and probably his chagrin, and we're all doing the best we can. So that's it.
Absolutely. All right. So we'll dive right into it. Now, forgive me. I was working with Alicia, who's going to be our head judge on problem 5 last night. I sell Google, and I have about 800 tabs open on my computer right now, so it takes me a second to find the right window. I think I found it first time. Can you guys see a screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. And you can see this big purple square, a little bit bigger now.
Yes.
I can see that.
Yes.
Excellent. You know why you are here. Full tournament judges training. So today what we're going to go over is why we do Odyssey of the Mind. It's always a good reminder why we're giving up our Saturdays. And in this case, hey sisters, can you go on mute for me? Thank you. Always a good reminder. Yeah, so if you have a question, unmute yourself. Definitely, I'll interruptions are welcome. Yeah, but I'm going to remind everyone why we do this and why our teams came back and why our judges come back and why we give up so much of our time to do this tournament and this program. We're going to talk about what the virtual tournament looks like. This is not our first rodeo. We're going to talk about what the teams are going to be doing this year and how things look different for them. So you can get an appreciation for the process they've gone through, right? And then we'll talk about how spontaneous is going to look this year. It's going to look really different for our spontaneous judges that may be on the line. We're going to do a separate breakout training for that group so they understand how they'll be scoring and what the new interface is going to look like. We weren't going to spend a lot of time on it here. We want to really in this training talk about long-term and style and making sure our teams have a great experience. And then after we go through that, Kurt and I are both going to take you the new systems that we'll be using this year. Many of them we've never used in Maine. We use them on the back end. But this will be the first time a lot of our judges are going to be interacting with those portals. And we'll talk about that too. We'll do a little demo of what it looks like and what the experience is going to look like for you. So the question I ask everybody every year, and if you've been in any one of my trainings over the past 2 or 3 years, you know what's coming. The question I always ask is, will you make an impact? I ask that of my coaches. I ask that of my judges. I ask that of our team members. Will you make an impact? And for me, I'm a natural storyteller. It all revolves around its story. So if you tell me the facts, I'll learn. You tell me the truth and I'll believe. But you tell me a story and that will live in my heart forever. And that's how I get to the why of Odyssey. Michelle, this picture is super familiar to you, I'm sure. This is Michelle and her son, Jared. Michelle is on the line. She's one of our judges. She's also an Odyssey mom. Jared was a longtime Omer. Was on a bunch of different structure teams, has been to Worlds. This is World Finals graduation that Jared attended his senior year. Jared was an Omer. Jared was an athlete. Michelle, I feel like the kid was involved in everything. He's in college. The best of my ability, he's learning how to build robots at this point. That'll hopefully do my job for me one of these days with any luck. When I asked Michelle kind of why Odyssey for Jared, oh no, they're not moving. So basically what Michelle said, what Michelle told me, these are supposed to slide and they're not sliding. OM taught him much more in his high school career than anything else he did. And again, this is Jared, super involved in everything. And Michelle tells me this was the most important thing he did in that career. This is my friend Avery. Avery used to be a board member. She was quiet. She was shy, very, very bright, very, very smart, but was the member of her team that was behind the scenes doing and helping her team while the others were kind of taking the attention. I watched Avery grow up, go to Yale. She's going to law school. And one day on her Instagram post, she just starts traveling. She's traveling everywhere. This is Avery in Russia. Avery's been to Greece. Avery's been to Ireland. Avery's been to India. She's been all over it. I asked her, like, Avery, if you told me 4 years ago that you, quiet, shy Avery, would be traveling the world, I wouldn't have believed it. Right? And what she told me, she said, honestly, I wouldn't have done any of this without Odyssey. Her experience in Odyssey, going to world finals, traveling, helped her open up and see the world a different way and really kind of create a new journey for herself. And this is my favorite story probably of all time, and I'll tell it to the day I retire in 50 years. This is Cheyenne with our former association director, Fern. Some of you were in the room for this story. A few years ago, we had a massive snowstorm the night before our state finals. It's Maine. What do you expect? It was like a foot to 15 inches of snow. And again, in Maine, that's not that bad. But the night before our tournament, we were really struggling. Do we have it? Do we not have it? And ultimately, we decided we're going to have it, and we're going to leave it to our teams if they can attend. All of our teams attended except for one. The night before, they said they couldn't go, and that was Cheyenne's team. But Cheyenne was also a senior, and we talked to her father, and we talked to the coach, and we talked to the team. She really wanted to compete. The school wasn't going to let them take school transportation, so if they were going to get there, it was on their own. Cheyenne was the only member of the team that wanted to compete, and we weren't going to stop her. So that day at tournament, I'm running around all day, and I'm seeing Cheyenne in the hallway, and she's furiously rewriting scripts and redesigning props and tinkering with costumes, and I think it's great, right? I've watched her grow up from this 8-year-old feral kid with wild hair to this young woman who is so determined to put on her presentation and deliver her solution to our judges. She was the last performance of the day in Problem 5. I wanted to be there. I missed it by about, as far as I can tell, 5 whole seconds. But when I walked in that room after she was done, it was it was an interesting phenomenon. So I look up at the stage, and it's just Cheyenne, and there's another team, a team from York High School, who are helping her gather up her props and take them off stage. And I'm going down the ramp in the auditorium, and I notice there's some pretty emotional people. I look over, and there's some crying in the audience. I look on the stage, and there's another high school team furiously writing an outstanding Omer nomination. And like, 2 of these kids are bawling. I look over at my judges. Multiple judges are crying. One of my best friends, who is a self-described curmudgeon, he's crying. My mother, the head judge, is crying. And I'm like, what the heck just happened here? Cheyenne had put on a one-woman show, and I missed it. And I still haven't seen it. But she impacted everyone in that room in a way that I had never seen an Odyssey skit impact anybody before. So feeling that emotion and looking at all the, kind of all the interactions that she was having with everyone, it was something else. And at the end of the day, when we're tabulating scores, I take all these Omer nominations, and we had 12 that year. 2 of them were for 2 other teams doing your typical Omer nomination stuff, being good kids and helping out. and I had 10 for Cheyenne. These were parents, other coaches, judges, those two teams that I saw sitting on the stage with her, all wrote her an Omer nomination. And we debated, like, is this enough to give her a Renatra? Did she produce something that we've never seen before? And ultimately, we decided, yes, she did. So we gave Cheyenne the Renatra Fuska. That's a one-way ticket to World Finals. And there was no debate whether she was going to go. We knew she wanted to go. That's why she was here. But the first thing she asked us, she asked Fern, can I take my team with me? The team that couldn't join her in that snowstorm, she still wanted to take them. And they said, no, you know what? You go. You earned it. You go. She had two very capable former coaches chaperone her to Michigan that year. Merle, our problem one head judge, and his wife, Sherry, another one of our board members. And she went to World Finals. It was a great send-off for her. She did the same exact thing at World Finals that she did at State Finals. She made an entire core of judges feel these emotions. One of my friends at World Finals comes up to me the night after she competes, and he says, "Hey, can you tell me about Cheyenne? Like, what happened at State Finals?" And I tell the story probably a little more eloquently than I just did, about the emotion and kind of the way she impacted the audience. And Garrett, this judge, said, the same exact thing just happened. What I experienced was unlike anything else I've ever experienced in 10 years as a judge. She made that room cry. She brought the same level of emotion to that performance that she did at World Finals. And when we looked at the scores at the end of it, Cheyenne and her one-woman show placed not been for spontaneous, which is tough to do one person. She had the third best score at the entire World Finals in Division III in Problem 5, which is a highly competitive problem in division, we all know. Watching her shift from that feral kid with so much energy and no focus to this woman who impacted that many experienced judges, something we'll never experience again. I hope we never experience. And to this day, I still haven't seen a performance. I don't want to. I want it to live in my head is the way I picture it. That's why we do this. And that's why we're all following up on 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Can everyone go on mute? I'm sorry if that's how it sounds to you. That's horrible. All right, so it's bridged tournament. Can everyone just that mute button?
Where is it?
It's a little microphone.
Oh, the microphone.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, perfect. So competing virtually, we've done it before. We did it last year. When the world shut down on March 13th, probably one of the saddest days of my life, when I realized our Maine kids weren't going to be able to present their solutions. We missed it by about a day. We still had a virtual World Finals. It was 10 days, 950 teams from across the world. I think 700 of those teams did Problem 5. But we had two teams from Maine who actually took part in virtual World Finals. One from Gorham Middle School doing Problem 2, Division 2 in networking. They took 12th place. And a school from Great Falls Elementary School. They're all like brothers and sisters. Division 1 doing the vehicle problem. They came in 24th. And I got to judge the middle school team. So I judged at virtual World Finals last year. Such a cool experience, right? We had a really good mix of kids who met on Zoom and presented on Zoom, and somehow were able to pull this together virtually. And then you had other teams that had already had a regional tournament and had really, the what we see every time we judge in person on the stage, in the gym, full display for everyone. But our main teams did it virtually. They did a fantastic job. I was really proud to see that some of our teams took advantage of that option. And I asked the teams, I'm like, hey, what was the hardest part? And this comes from Laurel. She said, at first I had a lot of concerns about how we'd be able to do this, but then I changed my mindset and realized it was possible. It would just be different. When she told me that, and this is in May of last year, I realized that I think these kids are going to be just fine. Maybe it's the adults that got to figure this out. But that quote I've carried with me the entire the balance of the year, right? It's just going to be different. It has definitely been different, but these kids have done it before, right? So for us, we got to change the way we look at it. So what are the teams going to be submitting to us this year? They're going to be submitting a solution video. 8 minutes, just like it always is. This is going to be their standard performance. It's going to have to be one shot. It can follow the action, right? So someone who's shooting it with the phone can follow the vehicle, can follow the dialogue. It can be shot by a non-team member. It can include stagehands or helpers, moms, dads, sisters who hand props to someone. Just can't impact the performance. And it can be recorded any way the team wishes. So we are going to see some teams on Zoom. We are going to see some teams on Google Meet. I hope we're going to see some teams in person. I know kind of the shutdowns and Gorham went into a kind of another remote learning situation this week, and they were going to try in person. I don't know if they're going to make it, but they can present these any way they want. My favorite part about judging, though, is working with the teams afterwards. So how are we solving for that, right? We won't be able to question them. This is not going to be like a live version of what they do. It's all going to be recorded. So what we're asking teams to do is also provide a 7-minute video explaining all of their scoring elements in their given problem. So what they should be doing is giving you the details that you can't see in the video. So much like you would after a performance, asking them how they did this, what materials did you use, we're prompting our teams to do that themselves and explain what they've done. Again, it can be shot by a non-team member, has to include the 4 style elements, and highlight really what the team did, what they were the most proud of. And again, they can do this however they want. So you'll see the Brady Bunch with explaining props and backgrounds, and you may see some teams in person. We don't have a rule about how they can meet. We just need them to meet safely. So all in all, our teams will be submitting 15 minutes worth of video, which is about the same amount of time we spend with them at an in-person tournament. And it may be on Zoom, right? It may be in person. So just be wary and be graceful with how the team presents. I think sometimes Zoom meetings aren't the best. Google Meet meetings aren't the best. I'm on a lot of them all day. But these kids are starting to figure it out. Don't judge the quality of the recording. Judge them for the work they did. That's my one big ask this year. So even if the mute is cutting in and out, you can't always hear the kids, make sure you understand what their solution was and the work they put into it. And that's why those 7-minute explanation videos are going to be so crucial to how we judge. The teams are also going to still have to give us forms. They just won't have to give us like 4 or 5 copies of each. This is all going to be it can be done by the coach. It can be done by the teams. It's going to be uploaded. We're still telling our coaches these need to be done properly, right? Because in the past with our staging judges, we have time to work with the teams before they go on. In this scenario, they're uploading. We're checking them after the fact. We have to go back to the coaches if there's anything that needs to be fixed. So we're really pushing our teams to make sure their forms, their paperwork are all submitted early or on time, and they are all submitted properly. We're going to have a team working on that in the background. So when our judging teams do get their forms, they're clean, they're right, there's no double dipping, and we try to alleviate as many questions as we possibly can. And we've all seen the style forms. This is what I presented to our coaches. They're getting the same message you are. Just a nice reminder of, hey, this is what we need. Teams are also going to be able to submit solution photos. These photos should show detail that we may not otherwise be able to get on video. It can be team members working on solutions. It can be close-up shots of what they've created. One of the examples of something we may see, I took this at World Finals a few years ago. This beautiful backdrop. It looks great from afar, right? Starry night with looks like maybe some techno mixed in there. But once you get up closer, you see the detail that the team put into it, the techniques they used. Really outstanding work. That's what we're prompting our teams to give us, the detail that we won't be able to see even in an explanation video. Let us know what you did. Let us appreciate what you did. Now, how are we communicating with the teams this year? All of the communication is going to take place through odysseyofthemind.com. This is the same place that you'll be interacting with all of the videos, all of the forms, and all of the photos. We're going to have what's called a paperwork review official, or a head judge, look over all the forms. Coaches are going to have 48 hours to come back to us with questions, with resolution to questions we had. And this is just going to help us kind of expedite the process of you judging. The submission deadline for all of this is April 16th. So on April 17th and 18th, the pros are going to be hard at work, making sure all of the paperwork is correct. So on the 19th, when we're able to judge and all the teams have been uploaded, you'll be able to get right to work. And like I said, the pro is just going to be making sure they'll be the first line of contact for our coaches, making sure URLs are visible, making sure paperwork's ready to go. So when you do sit down and spend more time in front of a computer, you'll know that this has all been checked. We have a team that's working on it on the back end, so you can focus on exactly what the teams have done and the work they provided. We also found a way to give sticky notes this year. Last year, during Virtual World Finals, it was a little tough. This year, it's all going to be done in the portal, and we're going to talk about what that's going to look like and how you'll be able to provide that feedback in just a few minutes. But we will be providing sticky notes to all of our teams. And spontaneous. There were a lot of questions around how spontaneous is going to look this year. All of these spontaneous problems that these teams are going to be doing will be verbal, either straight verbal, or there'll be a picture they have to describe. I don't know what those problems are. I try to stay out of that, but they will all be verbal. They'll all be entered into a portal similar to the judging portal you'll be using by the team's coach or team members. And what I think is pretty cool is we're allowing all 7 team members to participate in spontaneous. At a tournament, it's really hard. There's space constraints, so it's not all the time that all 7 teams can take part. But because of the platform we're using, every kid who wants to take part in spontaneous can take part in spontaneous. There'll be a 20-minute time limit. So they'll go in, they'll log into the portal, and they'll have 20 minutes to put in all their responses to whatever their given problem is. We're asking coaches only input what the team says. I mean, I would check for spelling if I were them. But make sure the coaches aren't prompting kids to give more creative responses. In fact, a lot of times I don't think the coaches are better at creative responses than a lot of our kids, if I'm being honest. Responses will be automatically submitted after 20 minutes, or teams can stop before the 20 minutes if they want. But at 20, the portal shuts down, they get one shot, and that's it. That's going to take place between the 19th, and we're cutting that off at the 26th to give our judging teams time to judge those spontaneous problems. So the timeline that they are working with and we are working with, April 16th at midnight, submissions end. Every team who is submitting has to be in by April 16th. On the 19th through the 29th, we'll be judging. There's not really any one problem that's more full than the other, unless you're looking at problem 2. I don't foresee this taking our judges a lot of time. Generally, when I judged last year, there was a little bit of a ramp-up period. So the first few teams took me about a half hour, maybe 35 minutes to really get my process and my flow down. And after that, it was kind of 20 minutes and done. And I ended up pushing through, I think it was 75 teams over 10 days. Many of our problems have 5 to 6 teams that you'll be judging. I don't expect it's going to take a full 10, but we're giving you the full 10. You never know what comes up. Virtual Spontaneous will start the 23rd. That'll end the 29th. On May 1st, we'll do our live or live to tape award ceremony. In mid to late June, mid to late May, we're going to have a Virtual World Finals. And June 11th to 12th, we'll have an in-person World Finals in Orlando. I just got my vaccination yesterday, so I'm super looking forward to going to that. But every one of our teams in Maine is being advanced to World Finals this year. So they'll all have the opportunity, regardless of place, to take part in either virtual or in-person World Finals or both. And we're leaving it to all of our teams to decide what's right for them, if they want to participate at all, one or the other, or both. So kind of a neat year for our Maine kids. They get the opportunity to throw their hats in with teams from all around the world. All right. Questions. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to take a sip of water. If you have any questions, please ask them now.
Remember to unmute first.
Yes, unmute. Don't talk to yourself.
I'm always guilty of that.
I'm always the guy who does it, so it works out well. All right, I'm going to keep pressing on. If you have a notebook, if you have a pen, and you are the type that likes to take notes, this would be a good time to start doing that. Like I said, this is being recorded, so I will send this out later, and I'm just vamping to give those pen and paper people a chance to get that together. All right, so how are we going to be judging this year? We all know how we normally judge an in-person tournament. We've got paper, we've got pencils, we've got sticky notes, we've got candy. You can provide your own candy this year. That's fine with me. I will not be sending you candy, unfortunately. So the first step is going to be to log into the Odyssey Volunteer Corner at odysseyofthemind.com. It's right, you'll see I've got that red star around volunteers. That's what you're going to click on to start to access the portal. By now, you all should have seen an email similar to this email that I'm showing on the screen. It will come from webguy@odysseyofthemind.com, and it will have a username and a password. This is the username, don't use my username and password, use your own. That's the password and username you'll use to log in to the volunteer portal. And it will take you to a screen that looks like this. This is where you will work from. This is the first screen that you will access when you start judging in the morning or at night, in the middle of the night. It doesn't really matter when. Mark Cardasano, who I don't think is on this call, he's one of our judges. He judges in New York. He also judges for us in Maine. He's very devoted. I'm going to use him as an example because our Maine virtual state finals, which is the tournament that you'll care most about, has not been populated with any information. But what you'll do is when you log in and you see this screen, you'll click on Start Long-Term Scoring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over to that screen that I was just showing you. Again, we're still on Mark's screen. You can still see my screen, right? Kurt? Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you when I click on Maine Virtual State Finals. This is problem 4. Every judge has been assigned to a problem. Most screens will look different than this one. But what you'll do as a judge, you'll come in and you'll see the teams you have to judge. So again, problem 4, not going to be horribly busy. And you'll click into any one of these teams. Now, what you're going to see here is that our main teams are empty because they haven't submitted their videos, their documentation, or their photos. So I'm going to go back to Mark's page, and I'm going to click into his New York multi-region tournament. You won't have this. It's just an example. And I am going to see, hey, York Central School. What are they up to? All right. As you see, York Central School has submitted a URL for their video. They have submitted their forms, and they have submitted their photos. They chose to use YouTube and Google Drive. Teams are allowed to use any file sharing platform that they have access to. The only ask is they have to be public. So what a pro has done already, you see these kind of checked okay over here. One of our paperwork review officials has gone in They've clicked this link. They've pulled up the video and they've seen, okay, this video is in here. This is publicly available. Our judges are ready to view this. They'll go back here. They'll click on the paperwork. And this is exactly the process you'll go through. So you'll look at the team's paperwork. So you see York Central School. You'll see their membership number. Make sure it's right. Take a quick look at the required list like we always do. What I like to do is I had two windows open. I had the required list and I had the video open. So like we do in a regular tournament, I could reference back and forth. What this team chose to do, which is super helpful, and actually something I'm going to suggest to my teams because I didn't think about it, they put timestamps where all these things will be. We know how challenging it is to say, hey, you turn to the judge next to you and say, hey, did this thing happen? Did it happen? Did you miss it? Did I miss it? Well, the teams, if it happened, the team's giving you a timestamp of when it has happened. I'm going to advise our teams do this. I don't know if this is common practice. I really hope it is because I love that idea and I wish I had thought of it. So this would be the view that you have. And then if you want to check out what they provided for photos, they're all going to be right there in that link. Here comes some photos. This team did a really good job. They put together a whole PowerPoint presentation explaining what they did for long term, explaining their Rube Goldberg machines, their structure, and then onto their style elements, where they showed it looks like marshmallows, like a dinosaur made of marshmallows colored. That'd be cool. Other artwork they've done, and one of their free choices. I don't know if all teams will do this. Hopefully they will. But this is what this team chose to do to make it easier for the judges to judge. Kurt's going to go over how to judge in just a minute. There's a couple more things I want to show you. When you do go in and you have judged the teams, you're going to see a little checkbox here. Is it scored? It's a yes, no, right? And if you have scored it and you've clicked yes, these check marks over here will light up. The head judge will see that you've scored it. You will see that you've scored it, and we'll move on. We also do sticky notes. This is how we're going to do sticky notes. So I go in and I'm like, hey, great backdrop. Spelled it all right. Be more creative than that, please. I know you are. Please be more creative. There's some cool options that you can pick. So Odyssey HQ has put together like hearts and smiley faces, sunglasses, whatever you want to use is fine with me. And then down below, you see this is what the team is going to see when we present their scores. These are the sticky notes you're all used to. They just look a little different now. And Mark using the mind blown Omer. I love it. So that is the interface that you are going to be using to get in, to view the links and all the documents the team's provided. Kurt, are you prepared? I'm going to unshare. Before I do that, any questions about any of this here? It's pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, Kurt and I are around for questions if you have them afterwards. Just shoot us an email, give us a phone call. Kurt, are you ready to show them how they're going to be judging this year?
I might be ready.
All right. Well, that's the confidence I like to hear. Kurt, all you, my man, all you.
You know how much I like to share. Okay, so let me see. I'm not sure which tournament manager I'm grabbing. I have a couple of them open. All right, this is the test one. Can you all see this now?
We gotcha.
Okay, so for each team, everybody is going to need to download and install Tournament Manager. It is available in the Dropbox. If the link isn't working for you, you should see it in Volunteers Corners. There should be a download section. So whether you have a Macintosh or a PC, you can download that. If you don't have either of those available, that's a little problematic. But our head scoring judge and I have already worked out a solution to that. For those, if if we have to go old school, give me a call and I will shoot an email to the judgeme@om@gmail.com, and we will tell you how we're going to do this. It could involve pictures and sending it right to Mike. He's okay with that, so we'll make this work. So when you're going to score, if you're doing Woodrow Wilson Middle School, you'll right click and you'll see where it says enter LT judges scores. You'll click on that. I think we'll pick on Mary for the time being. If you're a
Hey, Kurt.
yes.
Just a heads up. Remember that gray box problem we were having the other night?
Yep.
You had a little bit there before you got to this menu. I think there was a different way. Could you share your desktop?
Yeah, I can do my desktop. Okay. Let me reshare.
Just so we see the menus you're clicking.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Let me go back. Stop sharing. Share. Desktop. All right, can you see the whole desktop now?
It's black right now. Give it a second.
That's all right.
Try it again.
Try sharing
It's
again.
just you, Jason. I could see it fine.
Oh, can you see it?
Well, but Jason's recording, so he needs to see it. Let me shut everything down. That doesn't need to be open, and we'll try this again. With the exception of the call, of course. We'll share screen one.
Now I got you.
Okay. So we're back to our test tournament manager. This specific test file has been dropped in all of the Dropbox files. So the P1 through P5 Dropboxes, if you can access those, this is here for you to experiment and practice with. So what you'll do is you'll in the portion Jason just showed you in Volunteers Corner, you're looking at whichever school, in this case is Woodrow Wilson. You're going to watch the video. Jason's suggestion earlier was, to me offline, is he scored on paper last year. He printed out the forms and scored on paper, and then he went in and scored in Tournament Manager. I think that's probably the best idea, but you're going to do whatever works for you. So you're going to right click. We'll do that again. Site scoring. Long term. Enter LT scores. So that's the same place you'll go for both long term and for style. So if you're Mary, you're going to click on your name, click OK. We've already filled the scores in this case, but it'll look just like your form. So you'll go in and you'll enter your scores. We'll just clear these out for now. We'll try to clear these out for now. So you'll notice it highlights all the scores that you have to fill in. So for option 1, the creativity of the performance, you get a 4 to 20. Well, if you miss enter, you can actually give that a 0.
You can.
1. So if you put the invalid score in, it's going to pop up red, and it will tell you that it's an invalid score. So you have to make sure you're in the proper scoring range. Kind of just like you do when you're scoring on paper. You'll go through and score just like you normally do. Penalties, again, as you know, in Maine, we don't like assessing penalties unless necessary. That you'll run that through your head judge, either via a Discord. If your head judge chooses to use Discord, you can do that. You can do it via email. You can do it via Google Meets. I suspect we have some head judges that are teachers. They might prefer to use, like a Google Meetup to discuss things. So that's kind of going to be how your head judge decides to do it. What did we miss? Invalid entries. Oh, there. So Mary's feeling kind of generous today. And once you're done scoring, you're going to do a file and you're going to save that. Now the question is, this is kind of embarrassing. I'm not exactly sure where it saves it right now. Do you know where that saves, Jason, offhand?
Not offhand, but
going to say wherever.
Oh yeah, it's going to be under your documents directory.
yeah. So you can once you set a path where you want to save it,
Yeah, it'll be there.
it will save there all of the time.
So P1D1 LT score. So there they are, right there. So they'll be in your documents directory, and you'll see the P1D1. So if your problem 1 division 2 scores, that's where they'll be. You'll take that score right click on it, and then then you'll drop it into the Dropbox. So if you have the Dropbox link working, and in my case, you can. So whichever division you're doing, you're going to drop it into that folder. And it will magically appear on the main Dropbox website. And once that happens, then Michael, our head scoring judge, will be able to import that score into the system. And that's pretty much how scoring is going to work.
Can you just, for our style judges, can you show them where their name is for style and how they'd interact with that, Kurt?
Right. So on the style side, it looks exactly the same. So you're going to again right click, enter LT judge scores, and in this case here, we have Lonnie, Michelle, and Doug. So we're gonna pick on Michelle. Click OK, and then you can see, in this case, Michelle's score. So if so Michelle will then put her scores in. Again, she's going to have the paperwork in front of her, the link that Jason showed you earlier to the paperwork forms. The style forms will be there. So if you have access to a printer, you might want to print those out. And so you have them in front of you when you're watching the video and can take your normal notes like you would on an in-person tournament. And again, it's the same thing. When you're done, you're going to save that file. It'll be in that directory in your My Documents folder. Each one, that's a judging assignment. So each one, as you notice, you have if you look at the name of the file, it's telling you problem 1 division 2. It's giving you the school number. That's the 1140. And then it's an LT1. So you have LT1 is long-term judge 1, long-term judge 2, long-term judge 3. And in this case, it's ST2. That's style judge 2. Each problem is going to look exactly the same. It will drop it in these folders, and all you need to do is upload those to the Dropbox. If you can't do that, you can attach them to an email, send them to Judge Me OM, the Judge Me OM account that we've been using. Michael is going to have access to that, and he will be able to grab the scores from there. So we will, however, we're gonna make this work, however we have to make this work, and make it as easy for you as possible to do this. Are there any questions?
A note from lessons learned last year. You will live and die by the membership number.
Yes.
Kurt, stop sharing. I see me. I don't like that. Make sure when you are viewing videos, when you're viewing forms, when you're working in Tournament Manager, when you're writing these down on paper, that your membership numbers all line up. Yes, I did it wrong once last year, and I had to go back and figure out where I did it wrong. That took me like a half hour to do. So be really be far more detail oriented than me. If you're a little detail oriented, you're already better than me. That's why I suggest what we'll do is we will in the Dropbox. I'll make this promise. We'll upload all of the paperwork, all of the scoring sheets that you are used to. You can print them out. You can have them. They'll have the membership number on them. So if you want to use those, you can use those. If you don't, that's okay. Just make sure you're being very mindful of tracking your scores, keeping a record of why you gave zeros, why you suggested a penalty, so that at the end of the day or every couple of days when the judges check in, you know the explanation for your head judge, why we gave the zero we did, questions you had, or in a lot of cases, I saw something really cool and I want to give it an Omer, right? The nice part about doing this over video is you can go back and rewatch it as many times as you want. So if you see something cool that you want to focus on, go back, focus on it. Like watch it again. Make sure you see everything there is to see. In a lot of ways, this is doing this virtually may be more beneficial to the teams, right? Judges aren't missing things. I know those question and answer periods after solutions are really tough to like dig into really what you want to get to. I've seen some fantastic explanation videos that earned teams Renat Trafuskas last year, just based on the explanation of what they did and how they did it. It was so cool to watch. So my suggestion is keep a paper trail. Like, be a lawyer. Keep a paper trail every step of the way, so you know what you've done, what you said, what you did. In the portal I showed you earlier, there's also a place for judges to make comments that teams won't see. So if you do have a question as you're going through, like, oh, hey, I think I missed this, because you guys take a look, you can put a comment right there in that portal that other judges will be able to access and see, and comment on, just to start the dialogue. We're asking head judges to manage this however they need to manage this. We all have different communication styles. Some teams last year had a simple group text that they were on. Some traded emails. Some hopped on a nightly Zoom call to make sure their scores were right. And others did it through the Discord server that Kurt is going to set up. You'll get access to.
My kids, my two children are Michael and Thomas, who you'll get to know if you need to use Discord, are experts at Discord. So I'll send out their email addresses to all of you so you can reach them whenever you want. And I assure you that they will get back to you. They live at my house. If they want to get fed, they most certainly will get back to you.
There you go. It's not coercion. What is that? That's parenting.
It's extortion.
It is extortion, yeah. So the other thing I would suggest over the next 9 to 10 days is go through and make sure you have a thorough understanding of the problem. There's a reason we're keeping this to experienced judges, or very, very experienced owners and coaches, Abby and Julie. You understand the problems, you understand how they're written. So many times our experienced judges can look at it once or twice and get it. Make sure you really understand those. Take the quizzes like you normally would. Review the videos that Kurt shared out. The videos, the quality of them, I think the content is really good this year. So take advantage of those resources, please. And have fun with it. I have a couple more slides I do want to get to.
And I want to share. I want to give them a quick tour of Dropbox for a second.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
So I'm going to open my share. I'm going to share my screen out again. So when you log into each of you got a link to Dropbox. If in theory, if it works properly, you should have access to each of your problem directories on the website. So if you don't have the local copy, you should be able to get to the website version. And this is what problem 1 looks like. So as you were saying, each of the files that you create when you score, you'll drop them into the appropriate folder. But right now most important to you is this documents directory. This is where everything is. So you have scoring guides, you have the problem test, problem answers, the style scoring sheets, the scoring guides, the style worksheets, score sheets, the judges training PDF that will tell you all the important information. I've included, of course, the problem because you need to see that, and the program guide if there are any questions, because your problem, some of the requirements do change every year and they will be updated in the program guide. So that's where all of that is. If you can't find it, let me know. I will send you a link directly to that folder. It should work. If it doesn't work, let me know. And if I have to, I'll zip these files up and email them to you directly in small batches if I have to. So I will get you this information by hook or by crook. All right, I will unshare and Jason can go back to doing his thing.
All right. We're almost done. It's like the nicest Saturday we've had so far. So I'm hoping to wrap this up shortly. Let me go back to my 100 tabs.
Yeah, I closed all my tabs on purpose.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's a good call. All right. Last things to remember. What makes a great judge? Smile or don't smile. No one can see you, but have a good time with this. You can wear sweatpants. That might be elastic waistbands at virtual tournament might be the best thing known to man. Know your rules. Enjoy the performances. Like I said, forget about the quality of the recording. Just focus on the solution and what the kids did. Be creative with your feedback. Have fun. Do this from bed. Do this from your couch. Sit on the patio. It's kind of nice having that flexibility. And remember, nothing's been easy this year. These poor kids, right? I think they've been through a lot. They're rolling with it. Same with the coaches. I was actually surprised we had as many teams come back as we did. We've got a lot of diehards out there. Just like our diehard judges, we have diehard teams and coaches. They've shown so much dedication. And remember, screen fatigue is real. I deal with it every day. Pace yourself. Take your time. We've got 10 days to do this. You don't have to take the full 10, but don't feel the need that you have to get this done on Monday morning by 10 o'clock. Take your time. Make sure you've done a thorough job judging. And again, I say this every year. These are new problems. No one's ever judged it before. At least we haven't judged it before. So just be mindful of that and discuss what you're seeing with the other judges. Like I said, texts, emails, Teams chats, whatever it is you're using. Please just make sure you communicate. Read the problem, watch the videos, ask Kurt and I questions. There's a lot of information. There's going to be a lot more coming out to you in the next couple of probably days. There's some back-end processes we're still working out. We'll get you all that information. So day one, you're ready to go. Give every team the scores they deserve, and do not forget the OEMA notes. Please do those for every single team. That's their favorite part. And check your emails frequently. We will do the same. Let's stay up to date. Let's stay in communication. And let's really give our teams the absolute level best virtual experience that we can possibly give them. Right. So with that might be, I'm good at my job. That's like a full hour. That's what I was hoping for. That's what I got you. Any questions before we call it good for today? Kurt and I did such a good job. There are definitely some things I forgot to say, but they're probably not important at this point. All right, gang. Thank you.
What about spontaneous?
What about spontaneous? We're going to have a separate spontaneous training. I think you jumped on late, Trish, for our spontaneous judges. That will come out probably in the next couple of days. And and we'll walk you through what that portal is going to look like. I'm in the process of assigning those problems now. You're not going to be trained on the problem. You'll just be trained on the platform. So we'll get you a link here shortly.
What's the deadline for clarifications? The 16th?
Nope, clarifications were just like it always was, February 15th.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And in
No
the,
change.
and
And
if
we-
you
we-
go into the volunteers corner, you should be able to actually see those clarifications.
Yeah,
there.
we've read them already.
Brilliant.
cool.
Joan, you guys are way ahead of us. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That makes our job so much easier.
Will we be getting a call from the head judge about how we're communicating within our problems?
You will a
You'll
call or an
get an
email,
Okay,
but they will be in touch.
okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they'll choose the communication method, whether it's Discord, email, text, Pony Express, smoke signals, whatever is easiest for them. That's what we'll do.
Well, whoever made the choices, thanks for picking us.
You weren't a pick. You're a pleasure. That's what it is.
You say that now.
It wasn't a choice. I do say that now. I think I say that now every year at this time, and then come 8 o'clock after tournament, I'm like, why? Why'd I do that to myself again? I'm kidding. You know I'm kidding. All right. If there are no more questions, keep an eye on your email. We'll be in touch. Really, really, really looking forward to this. And again, thank you all for joining. Thank you all for taking part, and thank you all for giving your time so freely year after year. Cannot thank you enough. So with that,
we
do
appreciate all you do. We
We
couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much for all that you're doing. We appreciate
any
it.
more? Does anyone need any more platitudes? I've got like a book of them. I could just keep going. No, we're good. Great, Julie's good. All right. Thank you all. Enjoy this sunny Saturday, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, all. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Well,
Bye all.
Bye.
Okay, so I get out by doing this.
I'm trying to be.